Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. It really does help out the channel. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Odysseus's Kitten, who says, am I the asshole here for not telling my dad that he wouldn't be walking me down the aisle? So, 25-ish years ago, two dumb 20-year-olds got drunk and made me. They had and still have nothing in common, don't particularly like one another, but for some reason decided to keep me. I always lived with my mum full time. I love her, don't get me wrong, but she's pretty messy. I have 6 other half-siblings. 2 of them have the same dad. We always had a clean place to live and never went hungry or anything, but I know that there were times that she did, so we wouldn't. Mum very clearly loves all of us individually and as her family. She's just pretty irresponsible. My dad, I'd say more has his shit together, but we're not close. He married Hildy, also mid-40s now, when I was 6-ish, and they had my half-brothers, Jesse 16 and Kyle 14, a few years later. They both have really good jobs and nice house and cars. I know my dad paid child support, but their lives simply were very different than mine. I'd come over every other weekend, but after a while they were too busy with the other 2, so I'd just wait for dad to text me when he was available. He did, don't get me wrong, but he worked a lot, so I probably saw him once a month before I went to college. And after that we'd talk every now and then, but mainly just see one another on holidays. One of these holidays, Hildy got kind of drunk and told me that after my mum had me, my dad basically blocked her and just paid child support until his parents, my grandma and grandpa, basically shamed him for being a deadbeat and he got some visitation. That hurt a lot to hear, but it made a lot of my childhood make sense. It all came up because she was resentful that he had to pay my mum child support until I was 21, and was saying she had wished I'd skipped college. It's also sad because I know she was busy with her kids, but I always thought she at least liked me. Like, I know she hates my mum because it was maybe petty, but when they had Jessie, they replaced my mum at their house with the nursery and put my stuff in another one. Then my mum filed and was awarded much more child support than she had been getting, and that affected them. It's fine. There was free therapy at college, and I'm actually doing great career and mental health wise now. In fact, my fiance and I make about as much as they do. Granted less property, etc., so I'm in a good place. Literally freshman week, I met my now fiance, John, 25. But we didn't start dating for 2 years and have been inseparable ever since. His family is amazing, super loving, involved but not pushy, and kind. They do have a lot of money, and I don't care if you don't believe me, but even if they were broke, I'd be so lucky to be marrying into their family. Like, just an example of how amazing they are. His mum gave him her grandmother's ring to propose and has offered me any and all of her or her sister's jewelry to borrow for the wedding. His dad helped my brother get a job in his industry. He deserved it, but it's a hard one to crack into. And even his sister is going to be my maid of honor. Okay, maybe these are stupid examples, but they've told me before I don't need to apologize for my crazy and kind of trashy mum, and even thanked her for raising the love of their son's life. They're just so happy and positive and full of love. I'm so lucky. I've been so good about setting up boundaries, like with my mum. I laid it out that I'm not her best friend. She's not Lorelai Gilmore and I'm not Rory. I'm her daughter and always have been. We've had some come to Jesus moments, but are in a much better place. And I'm sad, but also very happy to say that she's been a much more responsible mother to my 4 youngest siblings than she was to my brother, different dad, Jake, 23, and me. And my dad and I have never been close, but I've tried. When John and I were talking about getting engaged, he asked me if I wanted him to ask my dad's permission. At first I said no. What's the point? Then I was like, okay, I'm his only daughter. He's kind of traditional and he was more or less there for me growing up. So he did, and dad was tickled pink just as I expected. They never said they had any money for the wedding or offered any, which wasn't shocking or anything, and I didn't ask. So, after all that background, We're getting married soon. It will be in John's hometown, which is a pretty nice place that people go to for vacations, and they know basically the whole town, so it'll be a huge event. His family, and to be honest, we want a big wedding. But since we're just starting our careers out, his parents are paying for the whole thing. I'm paying for my dress though, and my mum and younger siblings travel. I kind of just assumed my dad would walk me down the aisle, but a few weeks ago at one of my showers, Hildy was talking with John's mum, who was saying how proud they must have been that I paid my own way through college. Hildy was like, "Oh yeah, it looked really hard. We're glad that we started saving towards our son's college fund a long time ago. They have more than enough for undergrad and probably grad school." I overheard this and confirmed with John's mum what she said. It hurt so bad. College was a struggle. There were times all I had were multivitamins and peanut butter and jellies, and only because my mum would send me $20 here and there. Don't get me wrong, I'm also proud of myself, and I know the boys are both their kids. Well, I'm just my dad, so of course they give them more. But it really solidified to me who and what I was to them. So I asked my brother Jake to walk me down the aisle. John and his family know about this and 100% support me. Hildy called me yesterday, asking about the rehearsal dinner, where they'd need to be and when. I told her they wouldn't need to be at the church or anything and could just go to the restaurant after. She was like, "Oh well, how will your dad practice walking you down the aisle?" It was super awkward, and I let her know Jake would be. But I was excited to see them. A few hours later, my dad came to our condo and told me how disappointed he was. He said he's been dreaming of giving me away my whole life. I was in a pretty good headspace luckily and was just like, "Oh, I didn't know you'd want to, and didn't expect you to care," trying to be nonchalant and avoid drama. He was aggressive though and wouldn't let it go, saying I was trying to make him look like an idiot, and if Hildy hadn't asked, he would have shown up thinking he'd walk me down the aisle. I asked him why he would assume that, and he looked at me like I was stupid, but I wanted to hear him say it, and he finally said that any father would expect that. I was like, sure, but any other father probably didn't ignore their daughter for the first few months of their life, have as minimal custody as possible, or have college funds for some of their kids but not others. They probably did do things like take their daughters on vacation, attend a single father-daughter event, and help them out, even though they were legally done. He got mad, but honestly couldn't even argue, and just said he wasn't sure if he approved of this marriage anymore. I told him I wasn't worried about that, and the truth was that we simply weren't very important people to one another. He got really sad after that and left, and even though John agrees with my decisions, he said I should have given my dad the heads up about what I wanted from him at the wedding. As much as I value his opinion, I also feel like he doesn't get it. His family loves him and will do anything for him and has, while my dad has only ever done the bare legal minimum when I needed him. I never assumed he would help me, and he shouldn't assume he can play a role in my wedding. I know I'm not the arsehole for having my brother walk me down the aisle. That's no debate. But was I wrong for not directly spelling out for my dad that he would be attending as a guest, and only as a guest? So, someone asked a question while saying OP's the arsehole. They said, "You're the arsehole. If you only had multivitamins and PBJ in college, even though he was still paying child support. It sounds like your mum was using it to pay for other kids since you paid your whole college. Plus, it's your dad who was there. Get over yourself." Opie says, "Until I was 21. The hard years were after that. I didn't graduate with my master's until I was 23. When he was paying child support, she sent me money minus the health insurance premium." Commenter says, "Not sure how child support works, but if your dad had to pay it till you're 21, wasn't that supposed to include tuition as well?" Opie says no, the amount didn't change and my mum sent me money for the first few years I was in school from it. It stopped on my 21st birthday, and that's when I really started struggling. Sorry for the confusion. Commenter says, "Not even remotely close to being an arsehole. Your dad has some nerve having expectations of you after not treating you like an equal child for your entire life. I'd have punched him at the dreaming of giving me away his whole life. You don't owe him jack shit. Did he give you a heads up before becoming a deadbeat? Did he give you a heads up about not paying for college but paying for your half-sibling? The audacity to say he doesn't approve. Honestly, good, because now you can uninvite him without feeling guilty. Who'd want to attend a wedding they don't approve of?" OP responds saying, "Honestly, I doubt he's been dreaming this for more than a few years. One of my brothers is trans, so I'm sure he thought that was his redo daughter he could do all of the father-daughter stuff with. But that isn't happening anymore. Commenter says, sorry, legal bare minimum is to invite you to the wedding. Father of the bride costs extra. Be sure to add a speech in about your amazing mother who didn't always have a lot but gave you a last dollar when you couldn't afford food in college. How you've learnt the value of struggle and who really shows up for you when it matters. Then ask her to join you for a mother-daughter dance. Not the arsehole. My mum was a billion times better than dad, but honestly, they both had their own issues. Another commenter says, I mean, you're the arsehole in this circumstance because one of the showers is usually a month before at least. Opie says yes. His family threw a small one because he had some family in from out of the country, and it worked out. And my friends are throwing another one for more people. I also clarified for the few people that would be at both, and they didn't need to get us gifts for both or any. Opie adds a clarification on the money she received from her mother that was child support. Opie says Jesus since this keeps coming up. 1, it was the first 2 years of college. She sent me a few $100s, but I did use the money for my health insurance. And if something comes up, an issue at the house that I lived at in the summer by the way. 2, even if she spent any of it on my siblings, it doesn't matter. It was her money. 3, after I turned 21, is when it got hard, so she sent me $20 when she could. I haven't received a dime from dad since I turned 21. Another commenter says, you should have told him that walking you down the aisle was not required by the court, so why would you expect him to do it? Opie replies saying, love it. Opie on having a room at her father's house when she was younger. Opie says, I did always have a room to stay in at my dad's, even if it wasn't only my room. My mum was mad when I went over one day and my old room was now a nursery and all my stuff was in a guest room. It didn't need to be that big of a deal. Opie then responds to multiple comments regarding if her father paid for college and said, he did not pay anything for college. He simply had to continue to pay child support, an extra 3 years. My dad never tried to have joint custody. Most non-custodial parents are ones that don't care to seek more custody. My mum never fought any of our dads who sought 50-50. I paid for my college, he paid for nothing, and has offered the same for the wedding. It sounds like the dad has done basically the absolute legal minimum to raise her, and then has the bloody cheek to expect those wedding privileges, ignoring OP as a baby until his parents actually shamed him into basic visitation. And it just makes me wonder what thought process was there when he found out about, he's not walking her down the aisle. And he must have thought to himself, why? But still, it didn't click in any form. It didn't pop into his head that, oh shit, maybe I haven't been there for her or anything like that. Just, nope, I deserve this. I'm going round there to tell her I'm disappointed in her. I was like, oh man. But OP does update the post and says, thank you for all of your comments. I think I read all of them. It was very cathartic, and to be honest, even though it was very overwhelmingly not the arsehole, I actually started to agree with the you're the arsehole folks, who were mostly still very nice. I should have put on my big girl pants and just told my dad he'd be a guest at my wedding and nothing more. I wasn't doing anyone a favor by not being upfront. I apologized, kind of, to my fiance. He totally understood and admitted he didn't really understand my family dynamic, which I told him I was glad for. I mentioned in some comments, but one of my dad's sons came out as trans a few years ago. I know they were hoping it was a phase, but to their credit, they did let him take puberty blockers. Well, it's at this point not looking like a phase anymore. I think that's where the whole my only daughter / only chance came from. In fact, after spending time with Hildy and hearing, with horror, about the things she's done, my sister-in-law confided in me that she's pretty sure that if he and Hildy did have a daughter, he'd refuse to walk me down the aisle before he would be able to do it with her. My dad wrote me an email. I'm not going to post it because it's super lame and was just the same old song of poor him and his life is so hard. He wasn't ready to be a dad. He did the best he could. He always loved me, blah, blah, blah. No action items, no probably false promises to change. Nothing new. No, he didn't offer any money for the wedding, but reiterated a lot that he's always dreamed of walking me down the aisle. He did the whole, oh, I know I haven't been perfect, you deserved a better dad, and how he knew he could do better with his grandkids. I just replied that we looked forward to him being a guest at the wedding, and to remind me if they have any food allergies. Unfortunately, I care a lot, and I know their youngest allergies, but whatever. I had already decided who would be walking me down the aisle by then, so it didn't matter. My sister-in-law is one of my dearest friends, and she and my fiancé John have been very sweet to me about all of this. They are their parents' only 2 kids and are very close. She's the one who convinced me to date John in the first place, and I can never stop thanking her. She and my father-in-law always go, don't laugh, to this amateur wrestling thing in our city whenever he's in town, drink a lot of beer, and either John or myself pick them up. It's a fun thing, and they've always done it just the 2 of them, so I was shocked and thrilled that she invited me to go with them this past weekend. My father-in-law kept bragging about his 2 daughters, and my sister-in-law told me she's so excited to finally have a sister. I told them my new plan for the ceremony and who would be walking me down the aisle. I'd already told Jakers, and he approved. And even though they're pretty traditional, they thought it was a great idea. I'm excited for the future. I've worked really hard for my life. And yes, I got super lucky with John and his family, and it's going to be a great rest of my life, and the wedding will be a great start to it. Sorry for the novels, but TLDR, I'll be walking myself down the aisle. Opie afterwards clarifies if her brother Jake is still going to walk her down the aisle, and Opie says, I was having him walk me down the aisle because he's the closest man I have in my family, and that's what I thought I had to do. Be walked down by a family member, ideally a man, but I will be giving myself away. Commodore says, curious to know some of the horrific things that Hildy has done that makes you know that if Hildy had a girl, your dad would have dumped you like yesterday's trash. If it's too personal to tell, it's fine. I'm just curious what a piece of shit Hildy really was. I seriously think some people watch Cinderella and Snow White and think the stepmothers are role models. Opie says, yeah, my brother is trans, assigned female at birth. So yeah. Commenter replies saying, Hildy is also transphobic. Gotcha. Total piece of shit. You and your brother deserve happiness. Screw her. Opie replies saying, she's not. They've been very supportive of my brother. I'm saying I think a lot of this came out because he realized I'm his only daughter. I'm also almost 100% certain that if he had a daughter with Hildy, he wouldn't be allowed to walk me down the aisle until he walked her down first. Just like how he was never able to go to my father-daughter dances. Fine in retrospect because they were cringe. Commodore replies saying, good for you for standing up for what you want. He doesn't deserve to walk you down the aisle. What a dick with a poor me routine. Just go be happy, not the arsehole. Commodore says, Bio Dad doesn't get to skirt the responsibility of raising you. Get to swoop in and play good dad for your accomplishments and celebrations. Good on you and congrats on getting married. And I really enjoyed that ending. It made me happy for OP. Obviously not the family drama part, but seeing how you've built such a beautiful life despite everything. The fact that the way John's family has taken you in and you're going to the wrestling with father-in-law and sister, that was a wonderful image. And again, I just keep coming back to the cheek of your dad saying he's been dreaming of this his whole life. And I just keep thinking that's bloody rich coming from someone who, in this update in the comments, OP said didn't even turn up to a single father-daughter dance. Which OP said was cringe, but it's still a memory of hers where her father wasn't there, which is sad. Giving yourself away, and it sounds like your wedding's going to be surrounded by people who actually show up for you, and that's exactly how it should be. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, this next story was cross-posted on our own subreddit by the OP themselves. It was originally from the wedding drama subreddit. No update as yet, but it's from Unfair Result 1124, who says sister-in-law live streamed our wedding to my husband's ex and played the bestie act while feeding her updates about our life. What should I do? Block him, get him out of your life. But let's read into it first, Mark. Let's go. Imagine your sister-in-law secretly live streaming your wedding to your husband's ex and then pretending to be your best friend. Sorry for the long post, it's been a lot. I, 37 female, have been with my husband for 8 years, married just over 2 years. He has a daughter from his first marriage, 10 female. I've been in her life since she was 2 and have always been a mum figure to her. For the first few years, her mum wasn't in the picture. She was in and out of rehab for addictions. When she finally got out, she was allowed supervised visitation, but sometimes she would show up drunk. The ex had been sober for a few years and fought for 50-50 custody when my stepdaughter was 6. During visits, the ex would often criticize my stepdaughter, asking who did her hair, and when she said I did, she would tell her hair looked ugly, or that she didn't look cute in an outfit I had dressed her in. It got so bad that we eventually had to put my stepdaughter in therapy to ensure a healthy living situation. The ex initially refused therapy. My husband had to threaten court action for her to agree. Therapy has helped 100%. So here's the problem. My sister-in-law, we'll call her Amy, who's been best friends with the ex since childhood, secretly live-streamed our wedding ceremony and sent it to the ex, including private moments with my stepdaughter, who was our flower girl. We didn't even know this happened until September, a year later, when another family member told us. The day after our wedding, Amy went to visit her best friend, the ex, and that's when she gave her the rundown of our wedding. Later that evening, she called her husband, my brother-in-law, to tell him that she was going to spend the night with the ex and my stepdaughter because they were both having a hard time with the wedding, and she was going to stay for moral support for both of them. Before we found out about all of this, we even went on family trips with Amy and my brother-in-law. On those trips, Amy would trash talk the ex, calling her an addict, a mess, and a horrible mother, all while hiding her own past struggles with addictions. She even faked a pregnancy 3 months after meeting my brother-in-law, which is how they got married. Sheesh, I'm really letting it all out. Amy usually doesn't text or call me, but when we see each other on holidays, she acts like a bestie. Recently, when my husband was hospitalized for a serious medical condition, she was texting me 2 to 3 times a day, asking for updates, which I'm sure she was passing on to the ex. After finding out about the wedding betrayal, my ex-husband and I removed Amy and my brother-in-law from social media. My mother-in-law has had many issues with her too. She's been trying to get us to hang out with Amy and my brother-in-law. My husband had to tell her everything we found out, which she already knew but never told us. I don't blame her. As a mother, she wants to keep the peace. My husband really wants to confront my brother-in-law, but I'm not sure what good that would do. He believes his brother already knows because Amy has always been a problem, creating drama, talking badly about my in-laws and basically everyone else. Back when my husband was still married to his ex, he actually called Amy out on her behavior, but my brother-in-law always defends his wife. So either he's blind to her behavior or just doesn't want to see it. But Amy is truly a piece of work, and my husband has no interest in dealing with her or a constant drama. His family is the type that sweeps everything under the rug and acts like nothing ever happens. So Reddit, what would you do in this situation? Absolutely block and cut contact with someone like that. I know it's always easy for me to say that immediately, which it is. I'm sat here talking to a microphone. The fact that she's playing both sides this whole time, talking shit about the ex to you while secretly being her informant, this is just calculated. And then she was using your husband's medical situation, fishing for information to potentially pass on to her as well. Absolutely not. And again, the poor stepdaughter in this situation, going through, the ex's criticism just because she wants to get at you. And ignore people like mother-in-law who always say, keep the peace and try to sweep it under the rug just to keep family harmony. Your job is to protect your immediate family, not managing everyone else's comfort when Amy makes choices that's going to affect her in the end. Because, as we always say, actions have consequences, and these are going to be the consequences of Amy's actions, Amy's choices. Because there was a thought process here, and just the live streaming as one example. She didn't just put it on Facebook and the ex saw it. She actively took it round to her to show her. She's been actively taking bits of information, fishing for information, taking it to her. There's a thought process, and it's all extremely manipulative. Sleep says to the OP, I would go no contact. Wonder if Amy and the ex are using/drinking together. OP replies saying, I guess we'll find out. Once the baby mama starts missing pickups or showing up like a hot mess. And if she does that, she loses custody immediately and has to start from zero again. I really hope that's not the case, as I would hate to see my stepdaughter hurt. Commenter gets OP and says the new wife is a woman who wants to control everything and lashes out when she can't control every aspect of her husband's new life. OP says that's not true. I've been more than nice to my husband's ex, and because of me, she and my husband have a better relationship. She's been invited to my home, and I've allowed my daughter to show her bedroom to her mum. I'm very invested in her sobriety for the sake of our daughter. Honestly, I think that if she could stop with the lies and jealousy, we could be friends. About a year ago, we were actually in a good place, but then something happened, and it all fell apart. I'm not here to replace her. I don't want to, and I don't need to. My stepdaughter used to call me mum before her mum came back into the picture, when her mum told her not to call me mum because I wasn't a real mum. It broke my heart. I asked my stepdaughter what she wanted to call me, and we settled on my name, which I'm okay with. I've cared for this little girl since she was 2. And she didn't have a mum since she was 3 months old. I'll always be there for her, and she knows that. However, we do fear that her mum might relapse into addiction, and we hope and pray that doesn't happen for the sake of our daughter. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that commenter got that one from. I mean, to me, it sounds like OP sounds quite compassionate, wanting, the recovery of the daughter's mum for the sake of the daughter. But what would you do in this situation if you was OP? How would you deal with it? What advice would you give to OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. And, I have to say thank you again, because all the sharing, the likes that you do on this, the interactions on social media with you guys is always, I'm always blown away by it. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, truly. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and much love.